Today we're going to be creating a micro mini herringbone weave. The size of this weave is just very, very small. Here I'm going to show you my fingers in comparison. Very small. We're going to start off by creating a large weave so that you can actually see the process in large form, and then we're going to switch over and we're going to show you how to create that weave in miniature form. I do show you some basics for creating this bracelet, not in total, because this is a very special bracelet. This bracelet here was commissioned by one of my friends, and her father's plane back at the end of World War II was flying over Highclere Castle, aka Downton Abbey Castle, and it hit some trees and it fell to the ground. There was some of the fuselage that was recovered, and on the back of this charm you're going to see a piece of that fuselage aluminum. That's from the actual plane. She asked me to make her a bracelet, one that she could wear every day, so that she could just be reminded of that. This is also her father's birthstone, making it extra special. Let's start off by just taking an example of what we're going to be creating as far as this weave. This weave is can be fairly complex weave initially, but once you get the hang of it, it really is very easy. So I have a thicker gauge wire. In this case, this is just a prototype just to show you the weave. But this right here is 16 gauge wire, and this right here is 20 gauge wire. Now, most likely you wouldn't be using these large gauge wires, and this right here is a great big bead. So can demonstrate that. I have two chain nose pliers, I have a round nose plier, and I have a cutters. I have created a mark on the pliers where I want that loop to be. Now, because we're going to be creating two loops, we do need to make that mark so we can make sure that those loops are even on both sides. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my larger gauge wire, and let me just set these aside here for a minute, and I'm going to start off by taking my smaller gauge wire here on the end, and I'm going to just leave a little bit of a tail, kind of like an X marks a spot right there kind of a thing, and I'm going to create a coil, just a simple coil. Okay, I'm going to create that coil, and then I'm going to slide it down to the middle of that wire. So that's what we're going to do first, and then we're going to add our bead. After we add our bead, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to start creating our herringbone. Our first herringbone weave is going to be taking that wire and just taking it right around the bead. So I'm just coming in here and around the bead, and once I get to the other side, I'm going to go down, around, over, and then on top. I'm going to show you that again, but before I do, once I've done the one side of the weave over here, then I can go ahead and I can cut my wire end off of here. I don't need that anymore. So I can come over here, and I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to just nip that off. Don't need that anymore. I'm going to make sure that that bead is pushed right into where you created that very first coil, making sure that everything's in the middle here. We're going to bring our wire around and to the other side. Once we get to the other side, we're going to create another coil around and on top, and then we're going to go to the other side. And here's where it gets really interesting, because what we're going to do is we're going to take that wire and we're going to put it underneath, see, underneath that last wire that we wrapped around. So we're going to come around, down, and then on top, and then we're going to go underneath the last, or the other weave that we did before, and we're going to go on top, around, and on top again. I always like to keep that wire nice and straight. I'm going to bring that wire again underneath the last one that you created on that side, and we're on top now. We're going to go around, and we're going to go on top again. Kind of getting what we're doing here? What we're doing here is we're creating that herringbone weave. Now we need to go underneath this other one. So we're going to do 4 layers. This right here is the 3rd layer. okay? And then we're going to come on top, around, and then on top again. One thing I want you to notice is as I create this weave on the other side, they're not overlapping. Those are side by side, just side by side like that. Now this one here, we have 3 rows here. We're gonna go for a 4th row. And this will be our final row. Going to bring the wire down underneath the previous row, on top, around, and then on top again. Okay, let's do it again on the other side. This one here has 3, we want to do 4. Whatever you do on one side, you want to do it on the other side. So here we're going to create the other side, and we're going to go on top, around, and then I finish with another coil. So right there, we have our herringbone weave. You might want to take your weave and just kind of push it in together a little bit there, or make sure that they're evenly spaced. You just want that to be nice and uniform on both sides. Whatever you do on one side, you want to do it on the other side too. So we're just going to bring this and we're just going to pull these down a little bit more and just finesse those so that you have a really nice herringbone weave. Now we're ready to go ahead and cut. Let's go ahead and cut. And I like to, every time I cut, I like to take my chain nose pliers and kind of pinch and rotate so that that kind of tucks that wire in so it doesn't catch anything. What I will do now is take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to make a bend. Okay, the bend's going to go in this direction. Now remember, we made that mark on our round nose pliers. We're going to bring our round nose pliers in right where the mark is at the crook that I just made, at the bend I just made, and I'm just going to come up and over. You notice I'm doing that right there on that mark, and I'm just going to bring that in. I'm creating a loop right now at that point. Okay, I want to make sure that my loop is just nice and even here with this weave. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and put my jump ring on. To do that, I may need to just lift this up just a little bit to allow a little bit of space, but I'm going to put my jump ring on here. Now, the jump rings I use in the project are soldered. This one is not. I just created this quickly so that I could show you how to get that on there. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and push it closed again. I'm going to bring my pliers in. I'm closing that there. And I'm going to bring my round nose pliers in. Hold on, grasp onto that. And I'm going to create a coil and a half. 1.5 coil. At this point, for the project that we're going to be doing, at this point I would not cut this because I'm going to be bringing my round nose pliers in and I'm going to be sticking them here in the center of this, and I'm going to be expanding that to create an oval out of this. But if you're going to be doing a traditional herringbone, you can go ahead and cut that then. You would cut it right here. And we're going to bring in our pliers just like we did earlier. And we are just going to just kind of rotate and just kind of squeeze. And there you have the one side. You're going to do the same on the other side. I wanted to show you this not in micro before we began, in macro, so that you could really see what's going on. Okay, let's get started. These are the items that we're going to need for our project here. I'm also going to include the clasp because we're going to attach the clasp. What I have here is I have the Micro Mini herringbone weave right here. This right here is I've already gotten started with that, so you can kind of see what's going on. And I'm going to be attaching one of those links. What you're going to need is you're going to need these items here. You're going to need 20 gauge sterling silver wire, round, 2.5 inches. You're going to need 26 gauge fine silver wire, 5.5 inches of that, round. You're going to need a 3mm bead. I have a corrugated bead there. And you're going to need a jump ring that is 3mm, and this is 21 gauge, just meaning that it's just a finer jump ring. I want to show you how to create the oval jump rings. This right here is the 3mm round jump ring that is 21 gauge, and what I'm going to do is bring in the tips of my round nose pliers, And these have a pretty sharp point on them, so they're going to be able to handle the inside dimension of that jump ring. So I come in and I'm with both hands on either side, I'm going to stretch this out. And it's just as simple as that. That's how I create an oval jump ring. Show you what that looks like right there. There we go. There is a jump ring on either side of the weave, and I've created those into ovals, those jump rings, equal about 1 inch. A standard woman's size bracelet is about 7 inches. So what I've done is I've created this bracelet to be 7 inches. You can take a look. All the weaves are upright, and they each have one of those oval jump rings on either side. That's what I've used to connect it with. And at the very end, instead of attaching it to something, I just created one more secure loop there at the end, and that's what the clasp is going to clasp onto. This is what we have here. Here we go, just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by creating this this like X marks a spot right there. We're going to create this X, and I'm going to pinch it. You're going to leave maybe about, I'd say about 1/2 inch of a tail. That gives you a little bit of room to anchor it with your fingers, and then you're going to create a couple coils. You're going to push those coils together, and you're going to put them into the middle of that 20 gauge wire. You need to make sure that that 20 gauge wire is going to fit through your bead, and on this case it does fit through the bead, so very important. So now that your bead is on, we're going to bring the wire over to the other side. The way that I do that is I push the bead into the coils, hold the bead with my fingernail, and bring that 26 gauge wire over to the other side. I go around the 20 gauge wire and I pull straight. Now that bead is secured. I'm going to go to the back to the bead, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the 26 gauge wire, not the 20 gauge wire, the thin wire, and I'm going to come around to the other side here, and I'm going to just kind of hold that in place while I bring the wire down and around in a coil. Okay, so now I have that bead framed. I'm going to bring the wire now underneath the previous wire on that side, and across and around and on top again. Let's do that on the other side. The other side, I'm going to bring the wire below the last wire on that side, and on top, down, around, and on top. I like to take my fingernails and just kind of push those in, just kind of making sure that they're secure. Now I'm going to bring my wire down to the other side, and on that layer, now I have 3 rows on top, around, and on top again. You can see my herringbone taking shape. I'm going to be going for my 3rd layer on the other side, bringing that wire down and around the bottom of that stack, on top and around. Now we're going to the 4th row on this side, and we're going to do only 4 rows. Right at the bottom, down and around and over. And on the other side, we're going to go down below. This is the 4th row on this side. And we're going to go down, around, and over. There, that herringbone weave is now complete. Very small, very delicate. We can go ahead and we can cut that. Let's bring that over to the other side here, and let's go ahead and just cut it. Cut with the flat side of your cutters so that it will be a nice sharp cut and it won't be beveled. And I'm just going to bring my pliers in and just kind of rotate that around a little bit. So there we have that, it's all set. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to create those loops. Bringing in my chain nose pliers, and right here on the end, I'm going to bend at a 90-degree angle. Just like that. Then I'm going to bring my round nose pliers that have been marked so that we have equal loops right there at the bend. I'm going to bring the wire up and over right where that mark is. All the way, making sure that that's right on top and aligned with the weave. Right there. I'm going to go ahead and remove those. And I'm just going to allow a little bit of room there because we're going to be attaching this to the chain that we have been working on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in this direction here to making sure that these weaves are on top. If I put this in the opposite direction, let me show you what happens. I'm going to put this in this way. Uh-oh. Now I have the weave up top here and it looks nice, and here I have the back of the weave. That's no. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to put it in the correct way so that all of our weaves are on top. There we go. I am going to, and that was the previous jump ring that I had created into an oval, and I'll show you how I do that. We're going to take chain nose pliers, hold on there to the loop, grab with our round nose pliers, and we're going to create a couple of coils here. And now we're going to create an oval here on that loop that we just created. The way that I do that is I move this out of the way. I bring my round nose pliers in. Notice I didn't cut here because if I would have cut there and I would expand this, it might slip a little bit and I might lose some of my coils. So I leave that tail on there just so there might be a little bit of extra room there for me to work with. Okay, so I'm putting both of my, let me zoom up on this, putting both of my barrels tips right here in the center of that, and I'm going to expand or pull out. And just make sure you can see that. Okay, now I'm going to pull that outward. Let's slip down there, and it will slip. Okay, and I'm going to check it out. That looks really nice. I'm going to bring my pliers in, and I'm just going to just flatten those sides a little bit more, because with ovals, all they are is rounded ends with kind of flatter sides. Okay, I'm very happy with that. Now I can go ahead, now that I've created the oval, I can go ahead and I can cut my end off here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut, bring in my pliers here. Now I want to, in all sincerity, I'm going to let you know that what I do here with my ends isn't just this. I don't just tuck them after I'm done doing this. I'll take a file the ends a little bit, then I'll take a sponge sander and I'll sand those ends and tuck them further. But I want to make sure that they're not going to scratch anybody who wears it. Now I need to come in a little closer here with that cutter. There we go. Okay, so again, I want to just make sure everything's aligned. Now, if I look at this, everything is not aligned. No worries. What we're going to do is we're going to hold on here to this right here. We want that loop to be aligned with this right here, just like this. So I'm holding on here to this loop, and I'm just going to just twist that herringbone weave so that it's right on top. You want it to be right on top. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach the clasp. This is a really nice silver swivel clasp and really nice. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a bend just like we did before. There we go. Come in with my loop pliers, my round nose pliers, come in, I'm going to create a loop. Now here we would typically add that jump ring, but instead of adding that jump ring, what we're going to do is we're going to add the clasp. Let's go ahead and do that now. This is such a lovely clasp. I really like the swivels, especially when you're wearing the bracelets, because you really need to be able to finesse it a little bit when you're putting that on. Okay, I'm holding on here, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to create a couple of coils. And guess what we're going to do? We are going to create another oval here with this right here. So let's just go ahead and move that out of the way. I'm going to bring my pliers in here, and I'm going to pull. Okay, very, very nice. And what I want to do now is I want to take this and I want to just cut that. There we are. So what we have here is starting to really look like a bracelet. I'm going to try it on for size, just see where we're at now. We're really close. We just need one more component and we are all done. All right, let's go ahead and make our final component just like we did before. We're just going to come up and around, go right to the middle, put our bead on. I'm going to do this one a little bit faster because you have already seen this done twice, and I don't think I need to go very slowly like we did before. There, our final component is made. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach it, just like we did before. So this is going to be put on the other side of the I'm just going to slip that here into the very end. I push it down with my fingernail and hold on here. I wrap it around a couple times. Notice it's aligned with the other ones. I'm going to put this over here about 3 o'clock, and I'm going to pull that out and create that oval. Nice one. That turned out nice. Flatten out the sides a little bit on either side of the oval, and I can go ahead and I can cut. Now, what we need to do on the other side is we need to create sort of a jump ring, kind of a loop thing, so that we can get that on there. First of all, again, I'm going to check that for size and just make sure that we are good to go. I think we're going to be pretty good. I just need to make sure that the size is going to work. Okay, that should definitely work. Okay, so what we're going to do at this point is we're going to create a loop for the clasp to hold on to. I'm going to bend this again at a 90-degree angle, and where my mark is, I'm going to go past my mark. I want this to be larger so that the loop will fit the clasp. So we're looking for something a little bit larger this time, which looks like this. Hold on, and I'm going to create a couple of coils here if I can. I don't have a whole lot of space here for my wire, so let's just see where we can get. Come in. looks like I was able to make it. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work hard in this a little bit here. I want to make sure that that clasp is not going to distort this wire. There we go. Let's bring this over here to the other side again. Just want to finesse that over to the other side, make sure that it's nice and sturdy. Then I'm going to go ahead and then I'm going to cut it. Come in, I'm going to tuck. Again, I will be patinaing this, and I will also be putting this, I'll be making sure that everything is nice and filed down. So let's just make sure that all of my herringbone weaves are aligned. This one is not yet. So what I need to do is I need to just turn that so that that is aligned. Now that, not quite. Let's see, that needs to come up. That's there. Okay, that needs to be turned up that way. Okay, so everything is aligned now. What I'd like to do is I'd like to take this and turn it so that it is aligned with everything else. Now, when I did that, my coil came out a little bit, and I just need to just finesse that. So now I need to make sure that everything is aligned, and it looks like it is. Let's go ahead, take a look at the size, make sure the size is going to work, and if it does, then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to add some little dangles off of it. Okay, here we go. Our bracelet here is finished. As you see, it's just a little over 7 inches in length, and each component, meaning the herringbone weave and the oval jump ring on either side, equals about 1 inch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those components. And if you notice, each one of those herringbone weaves is facing upward. So they're all on the same plane. We also have the swivel clasp, and we also have here, we have those dangles. And those dangles, we have a video on how to do a secure loop. So these dangles, you can find those on another video on how to do a secure loop. So all you're doing is just taking a secure loop and you're putting it right there at that very end component. So that's it. This lovely bracelet is now finished, and we thank you so much for joining us here today and hope that you will join us in other videos. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.